What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about what's wrong with the finals. This is a topic that's been getting talked about nonstop on YouTube recently, but I've noticed I've hardly heard about one of the biggest issues. Smurfing. Nah, I'm just kidding. That's what everyone else is talking about. But there's another problem that I experience nearly every single time I play the game, and that's the lack of weapon diversity. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, what are you talking about? The game has plenty of weapons. I mean, look at the weapon pool. And that's true. But then load up a cache out and tell me how many weapons you see. You'll see the same weapons every single time, but most of them just the meta weapons in general. And in Quick Cache, you've got what I like to call the noob meta weapons that just smoke anyone who can't aim very well. And you will notice that the meta is going to change depending on skill level. If you're talking about the top people in the game, they can hit every single shot, so the weapons that they use are not going to work for somebody who hits most of their shots. And that's why the CL40 is such a big problem, because if you're almost hitting every single shot, why use a gun when there's an explosive that hits every time you shoot? So obviously a top level player would just laser you before you could kill them with a grenade launcher. But for 90% of players, the grenade launcher is going to be the meta. The only weapon on the medium class that can keep up with the CL40 is the P90. The medium is plagued the worst by this diversity issue though. If you've never played medium and you played against them, you would probably think they only had 2 options for weapons. Now, if you've been playing this game for a while, I'm sure you remember in recent seasons when mediums were using absolutely nothing but the pike, and that was not fun either. And this kind of leads into the core issue. Embark keeps tweaking the weapons a little bit here and there to make them the temporary meta, and maybe that used to be fine. But now with them pushing esports and competitive gaming, it seems everyone is just foaming at the mouth waiting for the next patch notes to come out so they can rock the new weapon that's way too good and just ruins the whole game for this month. I remember at the start of this season, it was the V95 pistol, and it was completely ridiculous. My first game of the season, I went into Point Break with the V95, and I dropped like 30 kills in it, and guess what? Everyone else was using it in there too. And there's the problem. The esports push has made the finals very sweaty, and because the finals is very sweaty, this meta-changing strategy that the finals has done since it came out is no longer working to keep things fresh and new, it's just killing the diversity of the weapons. For example, very few people are using the main assault rifles on the medium class these days, and this is because they buffed everything else so many times now that they've left the main assault rifles in the game in the dust. So they need to bring the AKM and the SCAR up to the power of the P90. And for all the other classes in general, they really need to balance everything, because it's like, for example, when was the last time you saw someone use a spear? Do people even use the spear anymore? I haven't seen a spear all season. If the game was in a perfect state, every weapon would feel like it was overpowered. But currently, there's weapons that don't feel good at all. And I don't blame people for not using those. They're just doing what the game's asking them to do. Back in the first few seasons, it felt like you could use any weapon and it was a good choice. I personally use the bow, and there is a few other niche weapons where once you get really good with them and you learn the strategies with them, it is very good and can keep up with the meta. But that takes a lot of time, and a lot of people are not willing to put that kind of time into the game to try to learn one specific weapon. They're just going to hop on the meta whenever they see it. And for those people, I don't feel like it should just be a clear-cut choice. You just choose one weapon every time. I think there should be a variety, and they choose what they actually want to use. In short, the finals has a balancing problem, and because of the esports sweaty mentality, the meta weapons become the only weapons and the game has a diversity problem. Either way, I feel like this isn't that hard to fix. The finals just needs to buff a few things. Well, almost everything, except for the meta weapons, and then just leave it there and stop messing with it. And with all that said, the finals is probably the best shooter out there right now anyway. Remember, this is all my opinion, but like any YouTube video, you might as well take it as fact. And like and subscribe. Peace!